Um, I've never really been a big fan of playing the Splinter Cell games. Um, the closest two games I would have to say that I've ever really played Splinter Cell was a mission in Ghost Recon Wildlands where you're supposed to sneak through a whole base to start the mission without being detected and without killing anybody, which is really difficult because there was a bunch of spotlights, a bunch of roving patrol characters, and there was four of us playing.
Jesus.
So
A lot of
if
variables.
anyone got spotted, it was end of mission. Or if anyone killed anyone, end of mission. Which also sucked because you have stealth takedowns, which register as kills. So even if you were to manage to sneak up to someone and knock them out, because it's called knockout, it still registers as a kill. So, it's end of the mission. And you can only do it at night. Like, I think it was... Because Wildlands has a time frame.
Yeah.
It was like 8 at night till like 3 in the morning. And
That's when you can do the stealth?
that's when you can do the mission. Yeah, the stealth mission. Because it has to be dark when you do it. And it doesn't end just
Like
there.
game time or real time?
No, in the game time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're beginning to scare me. I was like, whoa.
No. No. There was that. And then the other game that was, as far as I know, close to it, was Metal Gear Solid 5. Played that quite a bit. I kind of enjoyed it, but I got to a mission where
Oh my god, I want that game so bad.
I've got it,
because
so you can play it.
I would love to play that.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That game, I've seen so many box shenanigan memes, like just
Yeah.
with the cardboard box and then floating people off into the sky and shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would have a blast playing
It's
that.
fun, but there's a lot of underlying stuff you have to worry about, like using the Fulton device. That's what the balloon is, or if you get far enough into the game, it becomes like a wormhole device. Everything that you bring into a mission is called, you've got to spend, man, I cannot talk. You got to spend GMP, which is the currency of the game. And everything from the gear you wear to the weapons and attachments, as well as if you have they're called a buddy, which you can either have a horse, a dog, or again, if you get far enough into the campaign, you get quiet, like sexy, powerful, sneaky sniper bitch.
Oh, that sounds right up my alley.
Yep. But you have to manage like GMP. You can earn a great deal of GMP just by doing missions or playing through the story. But as I said, it all adds up when you use like just your costume costs GMP, the weapon you use, the attachments on it, and all
So
that
you
stuff.
just have to get a whole bunch of money before you do shenanigans.
Well, you don't have to get a whole bunch, but every time you go out on a mission, you're spending GMP, so you gotta make sure. And every time you use a Fulton device, it costs GMP. Or,
God, I hate it when I don't get shit for free.
yeah, right. But yeah, it's fun game. I just got hard stuck on a mission where you gotta protect this 7-ton vehicle, and there's these monsters around that are like not zombies, but they're zombie-like, and they can wreck.
Are you player one?
Nope.
No, I think we have a bug.
But yeah, there's like 4 or 5 of these hulking zombie-like monsters that are like armored, and they can take that truck out in like 4 to 5 hits. And
Shit.
you got to extract that vehicle. And when you use a Fulton device, just even like a normal soldier, they can shoot the balloon and that interrupts the extraction, and that means either A, you have to get rid of the enemies around so that you can extract it, or B, you just gotta get really lucky to have them focus on you while it takes time to float in the air, dangle a bit, then get picked up by your helicopter.
So you gotta be careful.
So you gotta be careful, but
bit.
it's surrounded by enemies.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that sounds like a fucking nightmare. So the game's mechanics do not lend well to stealth, is what I'm hearing. Especially with 3 other idiots running around.
Well, on Wildlands, but on Metal Gear Solid, it's single player.
Oh, for some reason, my head went back to Wildlands. For some reason, because we talked about the Fulton device and all that shit in MGS5, and then I started thinking about Wildlands again. Yeah,
no, Wildlands was a really good game. I just wish what they did, because the next game came out for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and although that is also a good game graphically wise, and you know, it takes some of the good stuff from Wildlands.
Overall, it's a farce.
It's when they did all that gear score, weapon score, and rarity stuff, it was no longer what the fan base of like what Wildlands wanted into Breakpoint. They tried making their own version of Division.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's starting to sound like Division, but Division's prime is you want Division, you play Division 2.
Yeah. And you know, Division, they base the looter shooter, like they base that game off of the looter shooter genre.
Yeah.
And they made that work.
If you like that kind of shit, then really the only looter shooter I like is Borderlands. I didn't like Destiny. I don't like looter shooter elements. Like, I do like RNG guns. That's fun.
Yeah.
But you know, when it gets a little too MMO-y, I'm just like, like bullet sponge enemies for the sake of being tough.
Yeah.
Health bars that are up above them, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. When it starts to feel like an MMO, I'm just like, And that's saying something. Somebody that likes playing those Tom Clancy's open world shooters is like, yeah, the new one sucks. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Did you know Ubisoft went up for sale a little bit ago?
I did not.
Yeah, well, when they make the same game 12 years in a row, and then, oh, wow, gee, it's not making any good money. All the fucking stockholders pull out, shareholders pull out, and then they have no money to make games, and they're like, oh, no, we've got to make either a new game or sell the company. Well, it's easier to sell the company.
I mean, especially when they take their main staple, like Assassin's Creed. I think they really went downhill after Origins.
When Origins came out, Origins started a new... So, the first Assassin's Creed came out.
Yeah.
Then Assassin's Creed, the Ezio trilogy, was also kind of its own engine. Yeah. It played differently. Yeah. And then the third rendition of the engine was like ARCRC1309, and I think Rogue was on it as well as Liberation HD. There were some standalone expansions. That was its own engine as well. That's when I stopped playing. I didn't play past Rogue because I played Syndicate, I played Unity. I didn't really like the parkour system changes. But when Origin came out and just completely changed it from stealth action, you have to like focus on one or two guys at a time, to try and bring in the action that Ezio could do from the second game. They tried to bring that action in where you fight a whole bunch of people. You don't really focus so much on stealth. You use stealth to kill one or two guys, and then everybody else figures where you're at, and then you have to defend yourself against everyone. Yeah. I'm not into that. I like the choice to either use my tools, like in Ass Creed 4. You can get into some big fights, like stealing ships and shit. Yeah. You know? Or you have the option to be super, super discreet. In Origins, the way the parkour and attacking system lends itself is you can't really stay stealth.
No.
Like, once you go loud, you're loud. You can't run away.
And then it didn't help too that they brought in like the skill trees
Yeah.
that boosted
Well, the
different
skill
kinds
tree.
of damage, as well as having gear score, like
Gear.
weapon damage.
That's
and
where I
rarities.
don't like it because,
Uh-huh.
and I'll tell you 2 reasons why. So I actually kind of like the skill trees. I wasn't opposed to that. It felt odd being in an Assassin's Creed game, but
Yeah.
I also came off of playing Far Cry 5 right as I got Origins.
Yeah.
Far Cry 5 has a skill tree. Far Cry has skill trees. I mean, the tattoo on Far Cry 3 was your skill tree.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. But bringing it over to Assassin's Creed, even though I was not opposed to the skill tree, I don't think it really fits because it used to be, and coming from a legacy Assassin's Creed player,
Yep.
back in my day, all of
Yeah.
your abilities was based on your gear.
I was the same way. I'm big into Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and
yeah.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
And your abilities were unlocked through story progression rather than through skill point progression.
Yep.
That's
See,
why I didn't really like the change from. I can't say that I'm against it because again I liked it in the older games. However, it was a different kind of progression. It was you had to go. It pushed you to go to the next story event if you wanted to get all of this stuff that you couldn't unlock. Let's say, like, for example, you wanted to use guns in ARCRC 3. Well, you had to go get a lot of money.
Yep.
And to do that, you have to do boat missions, or you have to sell
Yeah.
stuff with the trade thing.
The Da Vinci storyline. You had
You could do
Leonardo da Vinci to get further progression for like the parachute.
Oh, that's Assassin's Creed 2. That's Ezio.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you have to get the parachute and all that
Yep.
to do more stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was cool. Like the rope darts in ARCRC 3. It really opened up a way to either kill or
Yeah.
stealth kill people.
Yeah.
And there was all kinds of shit. It was based on mission progression, not on skill point progression, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And the
'cause-
only way to get skill points is to do actions.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
It's like you could be stuck on story mission number 1, and if you went out exploring, taking out like fortresses or camps or whatever, and you level up and you unlock all these skills, and then you decide to hit up the main mission, well, guess what? You're
OP.
overpowered.
Yeah.
You have all these skills unlocked, and
And I'm not saying I
whatever.
want my games to be hard, but
No.
come on, you need a little bit of challenge.
But what strayed me from Assassin's Creed is the main staples of Assassin's Creed games was you have your Eagle Vision. You have your Eagle Vision. You have your stealth kills, whether they're from like the ledge, or you're jumping from the roof, or from
yeah.
the bush, or even just walking up to someone without being.
And just quickly walking away.
Yeah, like you're able to walk up, kill them, hide into a crowd, and blend in, whatnot.
Which Syndicate and Unity really mastered. Like, you
Yeah.
could stealth kill somebody and stay in the crowd, and they'll just drop, and nobody will notice.
And you have your viewpoints as well as the leap of faith.
With the exception of ARCRC 3, because the
Yeah.
viewpoints were fucking
Yeah, they were
nerfed
like
to
on
hell.
little church buildings
Yeah.
or school buildings.
Well,
and
I
then
was
you
fine
climb
with
down.
the miniature parkour segments. I'm referring to the fact that your viewpoints are no longer your fast travel stations.
Oh yeah, there's
And in ARCRC 3, your fast travel stations was the fucking Boston and New York Underground. And you want to know where the fast travel stations were in the wild? The forts. The forts. There's only 3 of them. So you have to run so fucking far or ride a horse. But riding the horse was not really viable because anytime you ran into a predator, you'd get kicked off your horse.
Yep.
So,
But
Ugh.
all
Anyways.
of those main staples that I just listed off, the last latest Assassin's Creed game I played was Odyssey. I gave that as much of a shot as I could. But
and you were like, yeah, this sucks.
yeah, so assassinations, a very big one. As I said, you kill someone, like you assassinate them, they die,
Right.
and then you can go hide. Well, with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I've watched a couple people play Valhalla, but which they then fixed into the game where you can do the option of insta-kill assassinations.
Right.
But Odyssey, last one being played, was you can do a certain amount of damage. An assassination is essentially a guaranteed critical hit.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It doesn't kill them if they have a higher level or better armor. It just does... Well, I mean, it depends on your level and your gear, as well as the fact that they separated it into 3 different damages. Hunter damage, which was your bow and arrow ranged attacks. Warrior damage, which was your melee weapons.
Oh, they have this in Origins too, but I just started exploring that.
And then you have your assassin damage. Now, you can either focus all of your, like, each armor has certain percentages that they add to these areas. So you could have a set heavy in warrior damage, which makes you tanky and do quite a bit of damage. That also depends on your weapons as well, because you'll get rarer weapons.
Right.
So there's all of that, and you can also, from what I remember, you can also get skills that also enhance just your base damage of the 3 percentages.
Right.
And again, unless you put all of your abilities and your armor sets to assassin's damage, then you're not going to be one-hit killing with your assassinations on enemy targets. And even if you do that, if they are a higher level or like an elite unit or a boss,
yeah, somebody bosses, you would want to assassinate in one hit.
Yeah, because your bosses, like your story bosses, are immune to one-hit assassin damage.
What?
Because of story, plot, progression, whatever.
So they have plot armor.
So yeah, essentially they have plot armor.
Man,
and
I haven't faced any bosses yet, so
yeah. As I only got so far into Odyssey, and before, like, it just became such a hassle to not only manage your gear, because you can also, give them special abilities that you can attach to your armor sets. Like there's like ability slots.
System.
Yeah, kind of like an artifact system where you can put them
I think Origins has that for weapons.
Yeah, where you can gives you bonus points into your hunter, warrior, or assassin tree, or you could do like boosted fire damage, boosted poison damage, or just your base. There's so much
gear system.
As I said, it's no longer an Assassin's Creed game. All your viewpoints, like, you still have viewpoints, but I mean, I guess that's probably the only thing you got. You also have, kind of like an Origin, you have an eagle that can fly around, so you can find, like,
which is
secret
fucking
areas.
useful, by the way.
Yeah, which is useful, and that's fine. That's a neat addition. But this whole gear score, and I mean, abilities are fine. You can mix and match your abilities. You have 3 abilities that you can have that your character can activate during, like, a fight, but those either it activates, like, puts poison on your weapon, gives fire damage onto your weapons, and other things.
I'm really into that. See, because you would, to activate abilities, you would assign them to, like, well, let's use Assassin's Creed 4 as an example. You have your quick slots. If you're playing with a controller, you have your D-pad slots, right? You assign. I normally keep the fist, my swords. I don't actually use the assassin blade very often in Assassin's Creed because the swords do a really good job. And then I keep the dart gun and my pistols on the other 2 slots. So I have 2 choices for ranged, quiet or loud, and then I have the ability to disarm people. Like, say I run into a Jaeger, I think they were called. You go notorious, and then these guys attack you.
Oh, hunter.
Yeah, hunters. I'm sorry, I'm getting 3 and 4 mixed up.
Yeah.
I use the same system in 3 and 4, so.
Yeah.
So let's say we're playing 3, and the Jaegers, come up. I would keep my disarm on so that I could rip the sword out of their hands, And the same in Assassin's Creed 4. If you're fighting a captain or one of those fast bastards, you can rip the dagger out of their hands and fucking shank them to death. But in Origins, it really feels like that you shouldn't be doing that. You should focus on trying to get better gear with every encounter.
Yep.
And that brings in inventory management that I didn't want. I like to go to a store in the original games, the series before this ended, buy the best swords I can afford, or the coolest looking swords in Assassin's Creed 4's case.
Yeah.
Which would be...
Swords of Toledo.
Yeah, I was about to say the Blades of Toledo. That's
Yep.
the ones I normally use.
Either that or the gun swords. It depends on if I feel flashy. Like,
Right.
at the end of the game, it's with every Assassin's Creed game. It's just trying to figure out fun things to do, you know.
Right. The gun swords are okay, but my favorite pistols to use, again, going for style over function, is the blunderbuss pistols. And you get 4 of those bastards, holy shit, you look like you're ready to go to war.
See, I like the look and feel of the wheel-lock pistols.
Wheel-locks do very long range.
Yep.
And the aiming system is so forgiving in that game, so
Yeah.
you can really headshot anybody, with
Yeah.
the exception of people wearing a helmet. You know,
Yeah.
and even then, if you get them in the eye
Or
slits, they drop.
Tank guys, the big burly axe guys.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys always take a couple of hits.
Yeah.
But you got 4 shots, so why not? You know what's another fun one in Ass Creed? I think it's 4. I can't remember now, but it's called the Duckfoot. And you can carry a couple of those, and it's like a 4-barreled pistol.
Okay, I don't think it was 4.
It
But
might-
I know what you're talking about.
It
yeah.
might be Liberation, but the Duckfoot is a lot of fun because you pull it out and you shoot, and everybody in front of you just drops.
It's actually based off an actual gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes 4 or 5 barrels, and it was very flawed.
It's like the pepper box. The pepper box is another one that's similar to the Duckfoot. It fires all barrels at once.
Oh, but the Duckfoot was a very failed project. It was I mean, even Gun Jesus, freaking, you
Yeah,
know who he is,
Ian.
Ian McCollum. Yeah, like he does a couple videos on it, and
You know, going back to Origins, so
Yeah.
the gear system, man, I didn't because it felt like so it fits in a game like Borderlands, right? And you know, because you keep running into progressively harder and harder enemies, and the narrative behind it is that you need to stay stronger and more powerful and more angry and skills and better at bigger guns and explosions and claptrap and explosions, you know? So it's pushing you to be as badass as you can. That's kind of the narrative of Borderlands.
yeah,
Get rich, be a badass, ignore claptrap. That's Borderlands, right? And they're trying to shoehorn mechanics from different games into a game where you don't want to be a badass. You want to be a quiet badass. You want nobody to notice you until
you're
you
an
need to
assassin.
be noticed. Right.
yeah.
And the whole gear system just counterdicts that whole thought process. Plus, they had 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, Liberation HD, 4, whatever the expansion was to 4. It was
Freedom Cry.
Adewale's, I think.
Yep.
Rogue, Unity,
Syndicate.
and then there was another one, Bloodlines for the PSP.
Yep, with Russia, China.
Oh, well, those
And,
games are little,
Chronicles.
Those are 2.5 dimensional. Those are different.
Yeah.
But that's 13 games that use the whole progress by acquiring story progress gear.
Yeah.
That worked. The first game and Bloodlines were a little rough,
Yeah.
but it was the first game, and Bloodlines was also the first game.
Yeah.
So, but you get more gear, right, by progressing through the story. So you had 2 choices. Fuck around and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then once you're done doing whatever you want more armor. You want more abilities. Play the story. You have 2 reasons to play the story. To get better and to unlock all the areas that you were running around and seeing and you couldn't do. So in Origins, it doesn't feel like that's the case because you have everything you have right from the get-go. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but it's kind of like using cheat codes in games, right?
Or you know, your credit card, which is your cheat
Right.
code generator.
That's where I'm going with
Yep.
it because you can get DLC. I bought the Origins it come with like the Origins Ultimate or whatever by buying the Animus pack. So it comes with DLC items that are literally overpowered gear.
Yep.
And yes, it's nice to have in the beginning of the game, but dude, it literally takes all of the challenge away. And I'm like, okay, so when does the game get challenging? So I just started taking all of the points, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I have done all of the forts, for lack of better wording, in the area of the beginning of the game with no challenge. And I'm supposed to be fighting like spongy guys that you can't assassinate because I'm weak, quotes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, so I'm scrolling through the DLC list and I see the time saver pack and then the resource pack and then the fucking landmarks pack or maybe not landmarks pack, but you get what I'm saying. It's like they
$5.99, $9.99.
Right.
Yeah.
They changed this fucking mechanic so that I feel like they changed it so that it would open an opportunity to later sell you more gear rather than playing the story and experiencing a narrative and also coincidentally pushing yourself to be a better character. You can do the whole game with all of your gear right from the start. You just have to focus on leveling up each piece. And dude, that is so fucking boring.
Yep.
Just going through and stat reading. Like, I'm just sitting there reading. I have to loot everything now. And the only reason you would loot people previously was to do one of three things. Ammunition in any game past, I think Brotherhood is when he got the pistol. Ezio had
no,
a
I think it
pistol.
was he had the gauntlet. Even in the original Assassin's Creed at the end of the game, Altair created one from looking through like the Apple of Eden. He was able to look into the future and used one.
I don't remember
Although
that.
it was at the very end and you had one shot and you just aimed it and shot
when you
it.
shot your fucking former friend off of the balcony.
Yep.
And then you went and climbed the balcony to chase him because he had the Apple of Eden.
Yeah. So
I remember that now.
yeah, it was the very end of the game, but so you didn't use it, but yeah, as to you had
The only reasons you would
The
loot
gun.
bodies up until Origins was ammunition. That was your primary reason. Or
Forts.
you were fucking flat broke and you needed a little bit of cash to get to the meta game or the mini game to make money so that you could pay for cargo to
Yeah.
ship it somewhere.
as well as like to refill any of your like tools.
Ammunition.
Yeah, smoke bombs.
Poison
Those,
darts, berserk darts.
Yeah.
And then the third reason, a key. Or an item that you need to unlock the warehouses in ARCRC 1309. Or you're doing a quest where you have to assassinate somebody and take the inventory off them. Like an objective item.
Yeah.
Now you have to keep looting everybody, especially if they're a little harder to kill than everybody else, because they might have better gear. And oh my god, you can sit there for 10 minutes comparing the pros and cons of this gear, and then go through your whole backlog, and then realize that, okay, well, now I have to inventory manage. Let's move all this to trash so I can go sell it, probably buy better gear, and then oh, look at that, I've wasted an hour and a half of time fucking around with gear.
Yeah, either
I could have continued with the story.
Either I gotta choose the gear with the better defensive stat, or for the weapons higher damage, or should I choose the passive skills that come with the armor or the weapons over the damage, so you get less damage but more skills? Or
and you're killing so much time debating that it detracts from you to play the game. Like
the story.
I think my theory is that they shoehorn in all this mechanics so that they don't have to write a very long narrative.
No.
That's my theory.
I mean,
and also, to create
money.
a credit card machine, money harvesting machine.
It's just Assassin's Creed. I mean, games in general aren't what they used to be in the early stages. Now, that is a double-edged sword, because you got a lot of fantastic online free-to-play games.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got League of Legends, that's big. Fortnite, as much as we shit on it, it's very popular.
I played the Fortnite. I can't remember if it's like a campaign or if it's a.
So
there's like a story mode that it has that I
Yes.
purchased Fortnite for.
There is. So yes,
That was pretty fun.
The OG Fortnite which is cooperatively is like a wave based. I believe there is a campaign to it, but I think the campaign is something along the lines of you're fighting off hordes of monsters with like your friends. Mm-hmm. It's like a it's not a tower defense game, but you're like building up around your core to protect it.
It's like Payday with a different theme. Payday was the same way. The story was revealed to you as you did more and more jobs.
Yeah.
So.
But everyone knows Fortnite Battle Royale as being free and.
Yeah.
But those games online.
Fortnite Save the World. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that are free to play. That you pay for like the skins or whatnot. I seem to think that's fine. If it's free to play,
it's free to play.
If it's free to play,
they gotta make it
and like you got skins or some.
And it also creates like a peer pressure system too. Like you join a game and you can immediately spot the people that have sunk a lot of time or a lot of money into the game. Sometimes it's a good mix of both. Like, let's take my sister, for example. She doesn't spend shit on games.
No.
Except for Lotro. She spent some money on it, and you can immediately pick her out in the lobby and go, oh, she's a badass because she's wearing shit you pay for.
Yeah, well, she pays for expansions.
That too.
She's also a very, very hardcore Lotro fan, or Lord of the Rings fan.
And you can spot people that are huge fans of the game in free-to-play economies because they're wearing paid-for shit. Like in a game I used to play called Conquer Online, I had all of the fucking very expensive character skins because I played that game all the time.
Yeah.
And I liked having, the new skins when they came out. So yes, free to play. I'm not opposed to skins being paid for on a free to play, but if they're also unlocked via an event or a mission, that's cool too.
Yeah.
And I really think that like we lost that in old games.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be you would fucking like in this game
unlock skins or weapons, you
like
had to do achievements.
Right, time splitters. You would unlock players by doing challenges.
Yep.
And some of the challenges were passive, others were not. You had to do like challenge series or the arcade mode.
Yep.
To get more and more skins, or there was some where you had to play easy, medium, or hard on specific levels to unlock characters, and you had to complete side objectives too. So, but I didn't have to bust out my credit card and pay for these skins on Time Splitters too. Why do I suddenly have to do it now? You know what I'm saying?
Or if we reeled it back to Assassin's Creed, take a look at Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. You had to collect. I don't think it was feathers.
Well, you could collect feathers for Petruchio in the first one, but I don't think it gave you an outfit.
I don't know for what it was for Brotherhood, but you collected these items that unlocked the armor of Bruno.
Oh, in Brotherhood, you had to defeat those wolves guys.
Wolves.
Yeah, they're like guys that wear like wolf outfits. You had to do like parkour segments to get the next segment of the armor.
Yeah, and it was awesome because that armor gave you lots of health.
The armor of Brutus.
Armor Brutus.
Yeah. You said Bruno, and I thought of Bruno from like Sacha Baron Cohen movie.
Oh. Yeah, but
imagine that guy running around in ARCRC 2.
But yeah, and that was part of the game. Like granted, you had to get through certain parts of the game to be able to unlock more of Rome because it was in Rome.
Right.
To be able to then challenge those people, but then you were able to do it. You were able to get the armor of Brutus, the dagger, I think
specifically. Yeah, there was a dagger. There's a point in ARCRC 2 that I can tell you about that I know specifically because it always agitates the shit out of me because I always forget about it. But there's those towers you have to take over. One of the towers you can't take over until you get the fucking climbing gauntlet that allows you to go 2 nodes up instead of 1 node.
Yeah, I remember.
And I would always go there, and it's always the one that's got this big fucking lake at the bottom of a canyon that only has one way up. And it is frustrating because I'll forget, I'm just la-di-da-di-da, I forgot that I have to go get the gauntlet because I've played the game like 12 times in a row. You know, la-di-da-di-da. I get there, and I get to the point where you have to continue climbing with the gauntlet. I'm like, fuck, I got to do the story to get the gauntlet.
Yep.
So I'm like, shit, that means I got to do the story. So I'm all pissed off, and I got to do the Thieves Guild and all that stuff, so I can get more stats there. But, you know, that progression system, I miss it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Just unlocking stuff for, like, the skins, weapons, or whatever to fully unlock the game, 100% the game, without spending money.
Right, because I already bought the game. Why do I want to spend more money on it if it's not an expansion pack?
Yep. Looking at you, Battlefront 2.
Right, looking right at you, EA.
Yeah, I guess I should just
Looking
say
at you,
EA.
Ubisoft, who wants to sell fucking season passes and battle passes in a fucking single player game, you fuckers. No wonder why your goddamn company's for sale, you fucking dicks.
Yeah, that's a
I'm a
lot
little
of
passionate about
their staple games are just no longer feeling
They're too samey.
like their games anymore.
Far Cry 6 come out, and it's, I guess, based on reviews, I'm not going to buy it, because I watched like a 20-minute gameplay of it, and I was like, dude, it's Far Cry 5 in a different location. I've had enough of Far Cry 5's mechanics. I've played Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, 4, the expansions for 4, which was like, there was like a wave mode that you had to do. I played Far Cry 5. I played Hours of Darkness. I played Lost in Space, which was the DLC for those two, or for 5.
Yeah.
That's enough of that Far Cry engine. That is enough of that first-person style Far Cry mechanics.
Yeah.
The radio towers, all of that stuff, I'm good. Sell me a new game. Sell me something that's not Far Cry, but 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Far Cry 1 and 2 are radically different from each other because of time periods in gaming history.
Mm-hmm.
Far Cry 3 was another change, but then as soon as 3 hit, Yves Guillemot and his fucking cult family decided, hey, we're just going to sell that game over and over and over again, but we're going to alternate between first and third person view, looking right at Assassin's Creed. Now, fortunately, Assassin's Creed, they did develop mechanics and stuff, like when going from 3 to 4. Dude, the pirates, the ships, expanding on that whole thing, fucking bomb.
I mean, you take a look at in between every Assassin's Creed, they've always gave something new. It wasn't like a big game-breaking development. Well, I wouldn't say game, like a hype development until it came to Assassin's Creed 3, where they started introducing naval battles, and then 4. They made a staple on that with, you know, like the Caribbean. You're able to take your ship, sail around everywhere, every little island, but it's always a progression. Like you had Assassin's Creed, the first one, where you were able to go from city to city seamlessly.
Right, with no loading screens, with the exception of switching between cities.
And it depends on story missions, you know, going from little small segments. Then Assassin's Creed 2, they opened it up to
like, let's
one
create a universe.
Huge city that you were able to, as you said, seamlessly just go around everywhere. And they added like more weapons to yourself. You were able to do like a gun from your wrist, and then you had weapons that you could like throw.
Yeah, grenades and shit.
And then Assassin's Creed 3.
They really expanded the armory and the universe of Assassin's Creed, as well as developing their seamless loading in the Ezio trilogy.
Yep. And then also their puzzles. Every Assassin's Creed, they get more elegant and more challenging with each rendition after 2.
Mm-hmm. So they were really pandering.
Assassin's Creed 3 was a naval ship and the homestead. They did the homestead. And so each Assassin's Creed, they've introduced a new mechanic, whether it be small or large, with every Assassin's Creed. But after Origins, it started to feel like it was the same mechanics, just different skin. Like Origins was Egypt. Odyssey was
another thing, man.
Greek, Rome, Greek. And then Valhalla, it's
like Celtic lands and Welsh lands and the UK.
Viking. Yeah. But other than that, they kept the same thing of, you know, weapon, gear, score, and with Valhalla, they kind of did the same thing with Breakpoint, where eventually fans had enough and be like, we really miss the assassinations actually killing people.
Right.
So later, months after release, they finally updated it to where you can turn an option to where it was an insta-kill.
Like in the pause menu?
Like in the pause menu.
Oh my god.
And Breakpoint, they did the same thing where it first came out as a looter shooter, and with all the enemies being bullet spongy, you were able to then you had to start a new game over where it didn't matter, like gear score was turned off, you just had your weapons.
Right.
And
so with Far Cry, man, Far Cry has always been a graphics pushing game.
Yeah. Like Crysis. Now, Far Cry 3 came out, and it was like the first full HD Far Cry game that just looked really good. I remember I built my computer around running Far Cry at medium spec 720p, my first gaming computer. So Far Cry has got that going for it. It's always been the graphics pusher of gaming. And there's only so many mechanics that you can go with a first-person shooter. Look at Doom 2016, right? It's fast, it's first-person, light parkour elements. You have to move fast. You have to push into your enemies to get health and resources. You know what we should do with this whole conversation? Turn it into a podcast.
I'm gonna upload
we have
this.
freaking we have our game running here, but we haven't touched our controllers.
We've been shitting
like
on
an hour and a half.
We've been shitting on Ubisoft for like a while now.
Yeah, for a while.
I'm so happy to shit on Ubisoft though, because they're fucking up. Like Far Cry, it's been its graphics pusher for so long, and yeah, graphics get better and better and better, but games since I started building PCs have always looked like video games. And now we're reaching a point in graphics where it's diminishing returns, where we're only reaching a point where we can get higher and higher resolutions and then try to scale in our textures for those resolutions. But in doing so, a lot of artists are creating their games to look like real life. And yeah, that is fucking cool, but I want my games to look like games,
Yeah, and
so,
again, this comes to the double-edged sword of, new age games now compared to old age games, where old age games, the graphics were pushing the boundaries, and you had everything at your fingertips as the consumer, as the player.
Right.
If you bought for the game, you had everything that the game has at release.
Right.
And
including the bugs.
I mean,
because you couldn't really patch old games very easily.
Yeah, back then, though, like, when the game was released, it was put through extensive trials to make sure that all the bugs were squashed.
My dad signed up for playtesting through something that Tony's dad, Dave, did. So we were getting, like, cards in the mail to get games to playtest for a little bit under an NDA.
Yeah.
Like, from like 2001 all the way up to 2004, 2005, we were getting all those. Yeah. And that was pretty cool because I was like, yeah, they're reaching out to anybody to do Q&A and playtesting. Yeah. You're right. Games back then were playtested extensively so they could be released without game breaking or system bricking in for bugs.
Yeah.
And that was good. And when the internet became like this big thing where you could push updates on a lot of people via a platform, like Origin, Uplay, well, it's Ubisoft Connect now, Steam.
Yep.
You can push an update for a game that you're hosting or having hosted on that service. That's great. But then money became the issue because people that wanted to make more money realized that instead of, reaching out to the possible potential customer and saying, hey, do you want to play test this? And, you get to play this game first. Yeah. We expect you to tell us what was wrong with it, but you get to play it first and you don't have to pay for it. That's cool. But it turned from being customer oriented first to dollar oriented first, because now you can release a game. You don't have to play test it or anything. The development time for play testing is significantly shortened. I mean, look at Watch Dogs.
They
when that
have
first game came out, that was fucking terrible.
Yeah, they have their own in-house playtesters
Right.
that they use rather than outside
They don't
people.
reach out to the potential customer for closed betas anymore.
Yeah, that you want to know why? The new model is build the game, ask for pre-orders so that they get all the
so
money.
they can fund the playtesters.
So they can, well, it doesn't even have to fund the playtesters. I can assure you they're putting it all under the guise of, putting the game into development so that when they do release the game, that, it would be at a better stage than
or they can
what
look at their
games are now.
shareholders and go, hey, we
But
got this many pre-orders for this game. Look, it's going to do so well when it comes out based on these metrics.
Because guess what? As I said, the model is send a teaser out for the game that people, would probably drool over, like maybe some title, maybe like a new Assassin's Creed game.
Right.
We got a new Assassin's Creed game, whatever it is.
Assassin's Creed Indochina.
Yeah. Pre-order now for whatever meager, like a experience booster or
Assassin's Creed 2042.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed 2042.
Takes place in the future. Everybody uses laser knives.
Yeah. After that phase is done, then they use that money, as you said, to their shareholders.
Pre-order now to get RGB laser knives.
We got so many people pre-ordering, so let's put it into like advertisement. Make the game look good. Build up the hype.
Right.
Then, at release, it's really buggy. I mean, take a look at Cyberpunk 2077.
Right.
Look at Battlefield 2042.
That was a hot mess.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just how Battlefield does it. Like, at launch, it's always buggy. Then, they take the time, like, they let it sit out for a couple months, be like, okay, well, due to development rush, we didn't have enough time for developing this game. We'll patch the bugs later.
Right. They just want to get it out and make the money.
You paid $60 for the game, and you take a look at a lot of these prices for pre-orders, like $60 for the base
like $120 for Odyssey and all of its crap.
Yes, $120 for gold or platinum. It's always some sort of precious metal type tier to pay for.
It could be Assassin's Creed fucking Witch's Tears edition, and I'm still pissed off that they have to section up the game and sell it as different DLC while still selling it to you in a pretty raw and untested state.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I'm buying the game and waiting for it to release fully later? What the hell?
I mean, I did that with Odyssey. Like, I was stupid. $80 for Odyssey, where I got some equipment that was okay. Like, I was able to run through the first, I think I only got like 19% of the story completion.
And then you were like, fuck this, it sucks.
I was doing a lot of exploration, and the gear I had was working, but I was definitely, at that time, looking to switch it out. I already switched out my armor multiple times. The only thing I had was the weapon. But anyways, like, it was $80. And then you still had to wait. So what Odyssey did was Ubisoft did, well, if you paid for this tier, you can play it 2 days earlier than people that get standard release.
Yeah, 2 days.
If you did $120, you get like 3 or 4 days to play before the game release.
Plus the season pass. Ooh.
Yeah, plus
and it's
whatever.
Like...
And they're giving you something that's not like monetary, or like doesn't feel like you can justify spending 120 or $80.
There are
As
games.
I said, XP boosters and some beginner OP weapon stuff.
There are games that the season pass model works for. I'm gonna name one that is kind of controversial, but SnowRunner. I'm a huge fan. I mean, I'm a truck driver, right? You know that.
Yeah.
I like trucks.
Yeah.
I like off-road. I like terrain deformation. I like mud bogging. You know, I like hauling cargo. SnowRunner is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of the genre. Mm-hmm. And also the SnowRunner team that makes the game tells you, hey, this season pass will get you this year's content as we release it. by the way, here's the plan for the content we're releasing. They tell you straight up what they're going to do, and every single time they have consistently delivered.
Yeah.
So I'm totally fine with basically buying a DLC pre-order in the form of a season pass from these guys because they release it on time, bug-free. Well, relatively bug-free. There are texture issues. Sometimes there's like objects not lining up in the world. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You just take a picture of it, email it to them. Dude, there's a couple of them that I have personally emailed to them, and then I noticed a small update got pushed, and then that has been fixed while I just happened to be driving around. I'm like, oh, wow, cool. They actually pay attention to their customers. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm fine with buying a season pass and DLC pre-orders from these guys, but Ubisoft? I don't trust these guys.
No. Or EA at all.
Or EA, especially
like
EA.
Back in the day.
Look at how they carved up The
back-
Sims.
Back when we used boulders as tires for our vehicles.
Back when I rode a
Like-
pterodactyl to school.
When developers were not ready or comfortable with releasing a game due
just
to whatever
delay it.
bugs they would tell the public, they would tell their publisher, hey, we
This ain't
need an
ready.
extension on our date to make the game better. The quality of the game improves, they get more time. Then, like, the public, their fans, their fanboys or whatever,
They're going to whine.
well,
Or
there's
they're
always
going
going
to
to be
coddle
whiners,
to the titty and
but
be like, okay, please delay it.
I'm pretty sure any real gamer, any real fan of games will appreciate a developer actually taking more time to polish and finish their game so that at release we have a smooth gaming compared to now, where, as I said, they ask for pre-orders, more money at the beginning, and then, more money like during the release, and then to patch later, or they could do Bethesda. Where Bethesda, they release their game and then they don't do any of their patches, like they let the community do that for them. Skyrim.
Bethesda, yeah. Skyrim, Fallout New
Fallout.
Vegas, Fallout 4. Fallout 76, unfortunately, didn't get that treatment because it was always online service, but it was a Fallout game, so Bethesda naturally was like, hey,
But-
let's release this buggy piece of shit and make it an MMO.
But-
That's a good idea.
Again, like these new age games, like the developers, I
Sell
feel like
now,
are
patch
way
later.
too. Yeah, and it's stupid because that's how you lose fans. That's how you lose consumers.
Right.
Like, I don't know what happened in between the time of early 2000s to now, where developers are so scared to ask their publishers, or either that, I'm pretty sure it's got to be like EA or Ubisoft, that will not accept any deadline pushes because we don't want to disappoint our fans.
No, you don't want to
No.
disappoint your shareholders.
Yeah, you don't want to disappoint your shareholders. You don't,
want
want
to
lose your.
disappoint the Guillemot family
Yeah.
in Ubisoft's case,
Yeah.
who owns 51%
You wanna know-
of the company.
Yeah, you want to know who really makes the money for the companies? It's us, the players, the consumers.
Right.
We buy their product. If we love their product, you give us
A
a
good
game
product.
we love to play,
We'll buy
become
it over and over
fans.
again.
Halo, from Halo 1,
Far Cry up to Far Cry 5.
3.
I bought it.
yeah,
It's the same game.
yeah.
Far Cry 3 to 5 and the DLC in between. It's the same game. Not too many innovations. I loved it. It was great. But
Yeah.
I hit 5, played the DLC. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this period of my life
Yep.
is over. I need a new game because I could go play Doom mods all fucking day that provide the same or a similar, just heart-thumping, intense, fun game. I can go play Assassin's Creed and do a different time period and a different
Yeah.
setting and all that stuff, and it feels different with each character because they have their own problems.
Exactly. And
Or
that's
I
the
could
thing.
go and I could play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and there was 3 of those Tomb Raider games. Once I hit Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I was like, all right, this has got to be the conclusion because I don't want to play another Tomb Raider game. See where I'm going with
Yeah.
that? There's a point where you're a fan and you love those games,
Yeah.
but you want to see it not release anymore because it's becoming samey.
Yes.
And
Now,
that's the problem Ubisoft is having.
there are certain games and that I do feel like that they could keep on going, like Halo. everyone loves Master Chief.
Uh,
I just say
I actually enjoyed the lore behind how Master Chief and the Spartans, all of the Spartans, were created. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, and that
I haven't even read the books, and I'm interested. Like, I read the wiki on it.
They
and
do
everything.
have shows and books that do
Yeah.
that, but the game-wise, the game follows the perspective of Master Chief, obviously, or in ODST, it was the ODSTs.
I want to see a Gaiden based on the, you know, when the Arbiter was sent to stop a heretic from... There's like a huge...
Yeah.
It's Halo 2.
Halo 2.
You
Yep.
have to go... It's the Arbiter and his team
Yep.
with 3 jaws, I think it is.
Yeah,
The
so
guy
it
with
was,
the missing jaw.
It was like a shipmaster. That,
Yeah.
the Arbiter was following them because he was tasked to go end the heresy that.
The heretic guys, I want to know how they came to discover that those... What are those guys that sit in the chairs?
Oh, they
What's
did
their name?
explain that. The
No,
hierarchs.
Yeah, I want to know how he came to discover that the hierarchs are full of shit.
Yeah,
and
it
they're
was,
really just trying to arm galactic minds.
It was
you know.
it was the one of the, not Guilty Spark, but one of the oracles.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was the
They
oracle
did-
of that facility.
343 Guilty Spark.
It wasn't Guilty Spark because Guilty Spark was the particular oracle, because every Halo ring has an oracle that runs that installation. Whatever installation was there is what told those Covenant forces
Still.
the truth, and then they've then disbanded from Covenant, and then
I
they
still
were
would
sent to-
love to see an interactive storyline in a form of a video game of some sort, based around Covenant members that break off of that, frankly, suicidal voyage that the heretics are pushing on the Covenant, the Brutes, the Jackals, and the Ungi.
Well, I mean, honestly, a long-lasting game,
Ungoy.
one that would be interesting, would be even before the Covenant Wars, because it was all about the Covenant War. One that I think that would be very interesting would be during the Resistance period, where it's UNSC versus the Resistance, where Spartans are still a secret project,
Yeah.
but you can have, like,
Because they were clones of people, and then those people were put back. Like John is a clone of a human.
oh,
that-
if you were to follow Halo Legends, which Legends, I don't remember if it was made canon or not, because that disc was fan made.
Oh,
So
no,
it wasn't actual.
I got this from Reach. If you do the terminal entries and you read about the terminals, it tells you that the Spartans were based around clones of real people.
Oh.
Like John, Spartan, Master Chief, he was based on a real person, and John is a clone of that
Well-
person that was genetically altered to become a Spartan 4.
What they did was they took the actual kids, they made clones of them,
Yeah.
sent the clones in place of them back to the
Oh,
families.
I might have got it a little bit backwards.
Because then, if that's true, then Halo Legends, even though it was made from
Oh, yeah, that makes
fans-
more sense, because they could send the clone back with a little bit of a mind altering so
Yeah.
that they'll never discover that,
Well, the clones were only short term, so what they did is they set them up to look like they had heart failure or to degrade
Oh,
in
man.
health, so that they
didn't
didn't have
know
to
about that.
maintain that. There was one, if you watched Halo Legends, there was one female Spartan where in Acadia, I think that's the planet they were on, they actually had her in an accident where she was paralyzed from the waist down, and also she was dying, I think of like cancer, or because of that accident she's starting to die. The clone is going to die, but they did that with all of the clones. They made it so that they would die of natural, air quotes,
Yeah,
causes.
I remember
But-
I remember him talking about how they were kidnapped and there was some cloning, and
Yep.
then somebody went back and a clone did something. I just got him
Yep.
backwards,
Yeah.
But I got all that information from Reach. I almost said ODST.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want to watch it, that's word for word as you were saying.
Oh, you have a disc of it over here?
Yeah, I have Halo Legends, so we can pop that in. It's very interesting to watch. So at the beginning, it's very like almost like water paint style art, and they have models for like the Arbiter when he first became Arbiter, how that started, and then it progresses on. Like you just gotta watch it. It's really neat. It goes from like older graphics, and then with each new episode, the graphics improve until you get like 3D modeling, and like it's great.
So it's like a documentary as well as a lore exposition, or is it a cinematic kind of experience, like a TV show or something?
I would say it's like a cinematic TV show type deal.
It evolves over time.
Yeah, it evolves. You just have to watch it to understand.
I'll have to watch it. Can I borrow it later?
Hell, I mean, we could even play it. I'm always glad to watch it.
I want to play
love
a fucking army of two.
Let's we'll have to turn this either into a podcast or we'll have to turn it into a rant. But yes, I'm all for
I am absolutely gonna upload this later, man. I want to do that because, man, I love shitting on Ubisoft whenever I can because their business practices suck.
Well, I'm also a very big fan of Angry Joe.
Oh, I love Angry Joe and Other Joe.
And Other Joe. I'm very big on showing companies what they are doing to us consumers so that we can get the word out, so that hopefully we can either get back into the into the process of video game designing in the good old days where everything
consumer
was released
first,
at once.
not dollar first.
Yes.
Like, you should check out the indie gaming scene if you really want consumer first games. Like, man, there are so many good ones I have on Steam that you can share.
Well, that's because indie game, that's like you and me getting together, creating our own game. That's an indie game.
Right.
Because we're not a AAA title game company.
Well, look at a game called Unturned. That's an indie game.
I'm not big into
first.
Minecraft, but yes, that was a person that decided to take Minecraft and roll with it.
In his case, it was Roblox. He started with a Roblox mod.
Yeah, as I said, I'm not big into...
I think his name was Nelson Sexton. He started making it when he was like 13 or 14. A Roblox mod. I've actually played it too. It wasn't called Unturned. It was called like Deadshot or something like that.
You know, we're getting away from Army of Two. We'll do another video of this
because the controls still aren't working.
Oh yeah,
that's why we started talking, because nothing's working.
Yeah, so I'll let you do that.